RFK Racing will have a third entry in the Daytona 500 with an old familiar face behind the wheel. RCR shuffles around their leadership, and NASCAR's next TV deal may be close to becoming reality. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove on the Go. I am coming to you from New York City. That's why I'm still wearing the hat, mainly because if I take it off, my hair looks terrible. It's not even that cold today. I think it's in the high 30s, but the Texas in me is not used to this weather. I'm starting to warm up. Ugh, it helps that I had this bowl of noodles that was prepared in a block of cheese with a blowtorch. That warmed me up quite a bit. I've never seen anything like it. It's probably some New York City tourist trap snack dish that's not authentic in the slightest, but I loved it. It was cheese, it was noodles, it was right up my alley. Anyway, I am already off topic. A few NASCAR news stories to touch on this afternoon. First and foremost, 23XI Racing, for whatever reason, is tweaking their team's logo. Check it out. Looks pretty sleek, I guess. Not too different from the original. Still red. I thought maybe they'd get rid of the Roman numerals, because I still hear fans call them 23XI. This new logo is not going to change that, but good for them, I suppose. Another race team making perhaps more substantive changes is Richard Childress Racing, who today announced a reshuffling of some key leadership positions. Andy Petrie has been promoted to the role of Executive Vice President, while Justin Alexander, the former Austin Dillon crew chief, will now become the Competition Director. Eric Komanek will move into the role of Technical Director. Richard Childress Racing needed to make some changes, in my opinion. They started 2023 off very strong. In the Xfinity Series, Austin Hill fired off great. Kyle Busch won 3 Cup races in the first half of the season. But by the end of the year, everything had gone off the rails. In the Xfinity Series, Sheldon Creed was winless. He and Austin Hill were fighting. Executives were beefing with drivers. And on the Cup Series side, Kyle Busch was winless in the second half. And Austin Dillon had perhaps the worst season of his Cup Series career. So change was needed. Justin Alexander had some great years with Austin Dillon as a crew chief. Great maybe is an overstatement. He had some good years as Austin Dillon's crew chief, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in a bigger, more overarching competition director role. Hopefully these changes are good. Does RCR have everyone in the right place? Maybe, maybe not. I know a lot of Austin Dillon fans are not Keith Rodden fans. I hate to put it all on one guy, but even historically, Keith Rodden never has seemed to get the best out of his drivers. So RCR still maybe has some work to do, but some sort of change was absolutely justified after the way 2023 ended. One more team with a huge announcement today is Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. All week, they've been teasing the return of the number 60. A lot of fans assumed this meant the return of Roush's Xfinity Series program, which has been dead since the end of 2018. But yesterday on this show, I read y'all a recent quote from Brad Keselowski. Someday, I'm sure Roush would like to bring their Xfinity program back, but that day is not anytime soon. So instead, in yesterday's episode, I hypothesized that this was likely going to be a third Cup Series entry. Would it be just for one race, the Daytona 500, or would it be a regular entry similar to Trackhouse's Project 91? It sounds like the real answer was both. RFK today announced Stage 60. That's what they're calling this new Cup Series team. They released a short hype video on social media. The first race for the Cup Series number 60 car will be the 2024 Daytona 500. And driving the 60 is an old, familiar Roush Fenway face. David Reagan is back to attempt to qualify for the Great American Race. Very interesting. Not perhaps the most exciting pick, not the biggest name. A name that most NASCAR fans are familiar with, but it's no Travis Pastrana or Kimi Räikkönen or Shane Van Gisbergen necessarily, but David Reagan is no slouch on super speedways. David Reagan's only 37 years old, I believe, but the last time he raced in Cup was 2022. He ran, I think, 4 super speedway races that year for Rick Ware Racing. The last time David Reagan drove for Roush in the Cup Series was 2011. That year he won the summer race at Daytona driving the 6 car, and he may have won the Daytona 500 that year. Remember, he was leading late, seemed to have the race almost in control when a restart violation took him out of contention and handed the reins over to Trevor Bayne. Some sort of irony in there, I'm sure. David Ragan has won twice in his Cup career at super speedways. He got his second win in 2013 at Talladega driving for Front Row, but just think about 3 RFK Fords in the Daytona 500. That's kind of scary. Of course, David Ragan has to make the race first. There haven't really been many or any open entries announced as of yet, but it's still early. The Daytona 500 is still like 3 months away nearly. 2311 might bring a third car, Front Row, colleague. Jimmy Johnson, I think, is expected to run the Daytona 500. Is that confirmed? I can't remember. So there's a chance there'll be a couple drivers that go home. Hopefully David Ragan makes the show, but assuming David Ragan is in the race, 3 RFK Fords, whew. Remember last year, Buescher and Brad looked dominant late. The only reason they got kind of shuffled back was because they were outnumbered by the Chevrolets. You throw a third Roush Fenway Keselowski Ford into the mix, that's going to be a tough trio to top. I'm excited for David Ragan. This will be his best Daytona 500 opportunity in years, but I'm equally, if not more, excited for RFK Racing and Ford. They've been able to put drivers like James Davison in Rick Ware cars. Front Row was able to open a third seat up for Zane Smith or Riley Herbst on occasion last season. But with the strides RFK took last year, they're a legit contending organization again. It's exciting to see a third all-star car in the works. The team did not announce any additional events. They haven't announced any additional drivers, but the idea is this car will race several times in 2024, supposedly with different drivers behind the wheel. So can't wait. Hopefully they can get creative with it. Hopefully the fans aren't disappointed every time it's not Carl Edwards in that seat. Good stuff. Hoping for the best for RFK's Stage 60. Now, finally, and this is the big breaking news that is the reason I needed to sit down and make this video, but Adam Stern Sports Business Journal are reporting that NASCAR's next TV deal is set. It'll likely be officially announced later tonight by the time you're watching this video, but for now, it appears NASCAR has signed a 7-year agreement worth $7.7 billion with Fox, NBC, Turner Sports, and Amazon. That comes out to roughly $1.1 billion per year in media rights fees, up from currently what I believe is close to $800 million per year. Sports Business Journal reports that is a 40% increase in yearly media rights fees, which is a huge increase for NASCAR. And per their recent negotiations with the teams, it's likely that much of that increase will trickle down to the race teams through increased purse money, although that is still TBD. But let's get into some of the nitty-gritty here. According to Sports Business Journal, beginning in 2025, the first 14 Cup races, that includes the Clash and the All-Star race, will be broadcast on the Fox family of networks, likely similar to how they are now. But then, the next 10 races will be split between Turner and Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime will get the first 5 races. It will be the first time ever that NASCAR Cup Series events will exclusively be available on a streaming platform. But then the next 5 races will be simulcast on TNT and Bleacher Report through the Max, the HBO Max streaming service. So the next 5 will be on streaming and on traditional cable. A little throwback there. NASCAR returning to TNT. Wow, how about that? And then the final 14 races of the season will be on the NBC family of networks. Again, kind of similar to how they are now. This is huge news, of course, and once I'm back home, I'm sure we'll be able to unpack this announcement in even greater detail, but my initial reaction is there's a couple things I don't love. I would say the only two, bad things here, and maybe take both these with a grain of salt. Not the biggest fan of Fox opening this season, but if you heard Steve O'Donnell's comments at Phoenix a few weeks back, it sounds like NASCAR is sending a message to Fox that they want them to present the sport differently. Hopefully that message comes through loud and clear to the producers there at Fox, and come 2025, it may look quite a bit different. Again, this isn't for next year. This is for the year after next year. The only other negative for me is splitting that mid-season summer stretch amongst 2 different partners. Like going from Fox to Amazon, to Turner, to NBC. That's 4 different broadcast partners. That's all. You're asking your casual viewer to keep up with a lot. A little worried about that, but I do love that NASCAR is going into streaming, or they're at least dipping their toe into streaming. Look, cable is dying. Broadcast TV is kind of staying about the same, but streaming could still go either way. We don't really know. It could collapse in the next 5 years. It could also skyrocket to the moon the next few years. We don't really know. It's in NASCAR's best business interest, I believe, to at least dip their toe into streaming. And Amazon Prime, which is in roughly like 150 million homes here in the US alone, is the best partner to do it, I believe. They've already laid the groundwork for sports with Thursday Night Football. Again, they have a larger subscriber base than cable does these days by far. It's frustrating, I'm sure, for some fans who don't currently subscribe to Amazon Prime, but many fans do. I think this is a great move for NASCAR. The Turner TNT HBO is interesting. I like that it's going to be simulcast both on cable and streaming, so if you have one or the other, more than likely you will be able to watch. But again, that could be a bit complicated. I wouldn't have minded just Amazon having the entire 10-race stretch, and then it's just one streaming platform and NASCAR can really go all in. But dipping their toe with Amazon is fine. TNT, again, kind of a throwback. I doubt the broadcast will look anything like it did 10 years ago, but it's kind of nostalgic to see TNT and NASCAR return. And then NBC at the end of the year, I think they've probably been the better of the 2 broadcast partners the past couple of years. I've enjoyed NBC's broadcasts more than Fox. I think it's clear they're putting more effort in than Fox is these days. Let's just be honest. Fox is phoning it in, especially with trucks and ARCA. But even Cup sometimes, it just feels like they are half-assing it, to be quite honest with you. NBC, it doesn't feel that way. So I'm okay with NBC coming back. Lot here. Larger annual fees. That's good for the sport. More money being injected into every avenue of NASCAR. This seems great by and large, but I'll have to unpack it later on, maybe once even more details come out. But my initial reaction is, by and large, big win. Took them a little longer than I think they wanted it to take to get here, but now that they're here, the final destination seems to be a good one. But we'll talk more about this later on, I'm sure. Just initial reports, there you go. Fox, NBC, Amazon Prime, and TNT/Max. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. That is going to do it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're out in Nashville this week for the awards ceremony and banquet, I think right now there's like a parade going on Broadway. So if you're out there, I hope you have a great time. Again, I'm out of town. I got some other videos coming out here over the next few days, but you may not see a traditional Out of the Groove from me for a few days. So no worries there. I'll be back as soon as I can be, catching up on all the latest NASCAR news. But for now, that'll do it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you again real soon.